strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for
kind of animal? If that was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live, and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis program. I'd love that. Sounds like a
old. I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then
that would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows.
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now, and he ain't gonna fight. I bet you anything, he's not gonna fight somebody as good as John Ryder.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Roundtable 122. We are back with a jam-packed panel. Great panel as always. We have my partner in crime, D-Style Boxing, and we have Manny and Viva from Manny's podcast.
And Viva!
And we have Base the Kid, our hardcore casual, is with us, and we have Christine coming back in, and Dave will be joining us, and I think Christine is back. Here we go.
That always happens. I'm sorry. My volume doesn't work whenever you have the intro.
She wants to make a dramatic entrance.
I mean, come on.
There she goes. Not a problem, Christine. Not a problem, Christine. So we had a very interesting fight this weekend between Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison. This was a fight that many of us picked Tim Tszyu to win, but we thought it would be competitive. I didn't think it was too competitive myself. I was impressed with Tim Tszyu. Now, the big question is, undisputed fight is supposedly supposed to be next. Big question is he ready for that undisputed fight with Jermell Charlo? And is Jermell Charlo going to stay at 154 and take on that challenge from Tim Tszyu? We'll go with you, D-Style. What did you think of Tim Tszyu, and do you think he's ready for Jermell Charlo?
Well, I know one thing. Don't call him Timothy, especially when it says that's not my name. Say my name right. It's Tim. It's not short for Timothy, okay? It's short for like a Russian name, but at the end of the day, that's why he said, say my motherfucking name. That's why he said it. It wasn't just a random shit. You know what I mean? Say fighters' names. Ali was famous for a fighter not saying his name, right? But with that said, I felt even before this fight that he was ready for Jermell Charlo. He's there. Like they're both up there. They're both in the same stratosphere. They're both each other's competitive equal. It doesn't mean he'll win. It doesn't mean Jermell will win. It just means that they're both they belong in the ring with each other in an undisputed title fight. And if there was any doubts before this should have silenced any doubts whatsoever. Let's not forget that Danny Garcia didn't want to fight Tony Harrison, right? He ducked and dodged that fight. Oh, Tony, I want big names. I don't know if I should fight Tony, right? So this was a dangerous fight. But in the words that Tim Tszyu himself said, yeah, sure, it's a big risk, you know, but with big risk come big rewards. And now it makes a Jermell fight better. He has experience now under his belt. I do want to give Tony some credit. The effort was there. Right? You can't say he didn't try. He tried different things in there. He tried to mix it up. He tried every veteran tactic he can use. But Tim, there was no stone left unturned in preparation for Harrison. He was ready for everything. And I saw him land every punch in the book. Hooks, counter hooks, jabs, uppercuts, leading like everything but lead with uppercuts, which you shouldn't do, right? Shout out to Navarrete. He kept the right hand in the holster for a good amount of time, popped Harrison with it. It changed the whole fight immediately. He doesn't have his pop's right hand. He just doesn't, but it's a really good right hand nonetheless. He got like 25% of it at least. I mean, it's still there. And is he ready? He absolutely is ready. Team Tszyu Two. That's what they call themselves. It's second generation. And in my opinion, at the moment, behind only Corey Spinks, probably the best son of a former world champion as of right now of all time.
Base, what are your thoughts on this fight? Were you impressed with Tim Tszyu? Do you think he did better than you anticipated? And what do you think him versus Jermell Charlo?
Yeah, he did better than I thought he would. Or I should say maybe he did as good as I was expecting. But I did expect Tony to be a little bit better and sort of maybe control distance a bit more. I was thinking that he could probably eke out a points decision. Having said that, when I initially made that pick, it was long before I found out there was in an 18-by-18 ring, which, definitely did not benefit Tony Harrison in any way, shape, or form. In terms of Charlo, I mean, I guess he's about as ready now as he's ever going to be for that fight. But stylistically, Charlo's just it's a bad style matchup for Tim Tszyu. So he's got a chance. And as I said, he's as ready as he'll ever be. But I don't see him doing that well in that fight. I can actually see him getting stopped.
Got you. Manny, what are your thoughts on Tim Tszyu, and how do you think he matches up with Jermell Charlo for all the marbles?
I think he did great, and I think that this is what we wanted to see from him. I've always been a great fan of him. When you think about comparing in resume, I think the best thing he probably had was Dennis Hogan, Jeff Horn, out of the bunch, and so some people were very skeptic and thinking about if we can take Tszyu right now, matching at the level of Charlo, and so the next big thing right now, Tony Harrison, and he just did that. Spectacular. He was sharp, he was on point. And not to mention, man, the way he was throwing those left hook, and that's how he really grabbed them. And I think that Harrison had some great, some good parts throughout the 6th round. But even on top of that, I think Tszyu really dominated a little bit in very, very close round, and where I thought that Harrison was actually going to come back, but even Tszyu just stepped up to the next gear and was able to give the crowd what they wanted. And is he at the level of Charlo? He's got to be, in my eyes, he's got to be. But one thing for sure is you end up fighting the best of the Charlos and then the undisputed. And if he's okay with this injury, and if he can maintain the weight, and he can rehydrate well, and he is still, remember, we haven't seen him for a while, okay, fighting. And so after the second fight, he fought the last time he fought. So, but even with that, Charlo should be the favorite, and he should be performing exceptionally well. And it's going to be a fight that, a lot of people really want to see, because after Tszyu in there, who is it? Pandora? After that, I don't think there's anyone else other than young, talented guys that we have a lot of, boxing for them to go in terms for them getting to that elite level. But can he give the run for his money to Charlo? Absolutely. Don't underestimate him, because definitely he's going to get stronger and stronger. He's going to get better and better and better. But I think Charlo mentally, hopefully physically, I think he's slightly a little bit better than Tim Tszyu at this time.
Gotcha. Christine, a lot of people are saying that wasn't the real Tony Harrison because Tim Tszyu took him out of there more impressively than other people have, and they thought this was going to be a tough fight for him. Was that the real Tony Harrison, in your opinion? And based off this performance from Tszyu, what are your thoughts on him matching up against Charlo?
Yeah, I really don't like after a fight if somebody loses or maybe doesn't look as good as they did, in their last couple of fights, that the excuses come. You lost, period. I think that was the real Tony Harrison. He's been training for this fight, but also training Alicia Baumgartner and who knows who else. How can you give 100% to your training when you're also training other fighters? He looked slower. He looked older. And actually Tim did a better job in the rounds before, he was put down, the 8th round or whatever, than Charlo did. I thought Tim looked better against him than Charlo did. Do I think he's ready for Charlo? I say yes, but I want to see that fight soon. It's been, I think, a year since Charlo fought Castano. It's been about a year. He's had who knows what's going on. We hear rumors about hands, health, mental, whatever. So I think it needs to be soon. in my opinion. You know, I loved Tim's, you know, lead uppercuts, his hooks, his high guard. I mean, he looked really good. I give him credit. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't like a huge fan of him. I've seen his fights, and yeah, he's cool. He's good. Yeah, he's good. But this fight really showed me something. It really did. And I'm all for, I think, yeah, he's ready, but let's see it soon.
Dave, are you concerned with the layoff for Charlo? And do you think that Charlo's going to stay at this weight? And based off of what Tim did against Tony Harrison, will he be ready?
First of all, yes, I am absolutely concerned for Charlo if he takes that Tim fight right away. I think it completely benefits Tim Tszyu, who's now beat 2 world champions. I mean, he's beat Dennis Hogan, who upset Manny Pacquiao, and he's beat Tony Harrison, who upset Charlo once upon a time. I don't like the way Charlo does against both Charlos. Don't do very well against pressure fighters. Let's be honest, that Juan Montiel fight was very close. Well, it wasn't very close, but he did poorly in that. His big brother did, right? And I don't like how close that Castaño fight was. I think a lot of people might think that was a split draw. So I don't favor the long layoff and the hand injury to benefit Charlo one bit at all. I think all the momentum is in the camp of Tim Tszyu, and I think now we're seeing it's come to fruition that Tim Tszyu in his own right is special. He's special like his dad was, and he's cementing his own legacy. So if this fight happens for him immediately, I heavily favored Tim Tszyu, actually, to be honest. I think Charlo for a while is probably both brothers are looking to move up in weight and vacate their belts and move up to their next subsequent divisions, and that actually benefits Tim Tszyu, who seems to be getting stronger and stronger. And as limited as people claimed his skill set was, I think we saw this weekend that his skill set is more than enough to beat someone who is considered a slick boxer in Harrison. So I really enjoyed this weekend's fight. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to add this really quick, and I'm glad Fury-Uysk. I was actually going to say that. A lot is being said about, and I know why people are saying this, by the way. And I know Base said it too. Look, I get it. Charlo has had some big wins. He's the undisputed champion. If they say he's a favorite, of course, I could see Vegas putting him as a favorite. It is what it is, right? And of course, he could win the fight. But I will say this: the Charlo brothers don't handle pressure that well. And here's the thing about Tim Tszyu: he's going to apply pressure on him from mid-range. He's not going to smother his work, because he doesn't smother his work. All right. And I do believe that's going to drain Charlo. He's going to win rounds against Charlo, because Charlo is not that active during fights. That's one of his biggest problems. I felt he lost the first Castaño fight. I felt he lost more rounds than he won against Harrison in both fights. Harrison started showboating in that rematch, and that's why he got caught there. I'm telling you right now, while Jermell's a really good fighter, I commend him for being, an undisputed champion and taking on all comers. We'll see if he takes this fight. But I'm telling you right now, counting out Tim Tszyu would be crazy for anybody, because he is a very well-rounded fighter, right? He could fight from long range, mid range, and he outboxed Harrison in all 3 departments: inside, outside, and mid range. Like, it's not easy to outbox somebody like Harrison. It just isn't. Just off his muscle memory alone, it's going to be hard to do that. So at the end of the day, he wasn't breathing hard. The conditioning is a factor, and Charlo does great in rematches. But I want to make sure everybody understands this. Tim is the mandatory. Tim did not agree to a rematch clause. You get one shot, and I remember what B-Hop told Tarver: "Man, you're great at rematches, but you're not getting a rematch, right? There's no rematch clause here." Can Charlo deliver on the first go around? Can he do that? Because he didn't deliver against Castaño or Harrison on the first go around, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I kind of mirror that to Anthony Joshua. He's great in rematches as well. But in this case, you got to think about something. As competitive as he is, all he's got to do is fight the same he fought Castaño the second time. He didn't look. I mean, it's not that he didn't look great in the first one. I think Castaño was just stronger, guy, and I agree with you. They did see that fight. Castaño winning slight edge. But in the second one, didn't it take everyone by surprise? The way Charlo just really, did what he had to do and what he's supposed to do in the first one. So your point is great. However, I'm hoping and I'm concerned that the inactivity and also his health condition, and maintaining the weight. Is that a factor in here? And that's something I have to take in consideration. That's why it's so even right now. Because other than that, if it would have been the fight would have not been postponed, everyone. I mean, no one would see Tszyu with slight chance to that. So I think that gave a slightly opportunity to Tszyu to kind of demonstrate and show and stay active. I just want to see, and Kristen, you're right. That inactivity, we just want to see how he comes back, and hopefully he's healthy.
Speaking of rematch clauses, there seems to be a big drama story going around the rematch clause in regards to the Tyson Fury Olexander Usyk fight that's supposed to be going forth on April 29th. Now, they agreed to the 70-30 split, but it looks like Tyson Fury, for whatever reason, is kind of combing through this contract with a fine-tooth comb, looking under every rock and seeing what he could do to complain about and throw it back at Usyk's team. And this rematch clause is the latest piece of drama that's going on in regards to this fight. There's about 5 weeks left around for April 29th. Doesn't seem like a lot of time. Does Tyson Fury really want this fight? Or is he just kind of stalling to push it back for later in the year? Or does he want to avoid it altogether? Base, what's going on with the best heavyweight of all time? Why is he pushing this fight back so far and drawing these negotiations out so long?
I don't think he's ever wanted this fight. I mean, he's been on record numerous times since 2021, possibly even a little bit earlier, basically saying like, well, who wants to fight Usyk? He's pumped up middleweight, doesn't speak English, he's a foreigner who no one knows, brings nothing to the table. That's been his narrative for the longest time. So I think to him, even though he probably thinks that he can win the fight, it's like this fight does very little for his legacy. It probably does him more harm than good, because if he wins but he's not purely dominant, then well, you're not as great as you led people to believe. And if he wins in a dominant fashion, well, you just said this guy was a middleweight, so what did you really prove? So you've got those narratives there, and then for the money it's going to take for the style that he knows he's going to be in with, he knows this isn't going to be an easy fight. And I don't think for him the amount of money that's on the table for it equates the same as taking as big a risk with someone like a Joshua, who's probably going to earn about 3-4 times as much. And I think what he's basically done, because even when he came out with his first initial thing about the 70-30, he came out with it a day or 2 days just before the supposed deadline for the WBA and the mandatory. So it was probably, I think the tactic was to give him a split that wasn't going to be accepted, and then they run out of time, and then the WBA comes in, and now Usyk's no longer his problem. He can go off and do what he wants to do. When obviously Usyk's now come back and said, nope, we're taking it at 70-30 for April the 29th. It's like, okay, bluff called. Oh, okay, well, I don't think I'm actually going to be in shape, ready in time for this fight. So what else can I look at? Oh, we got a rematch clause. Well, that can add an extra couple of days onto the schedule. Let's try and employ that one as well. And rematch, well, they said your team wanted to rematch. Okay, apparently that's not an issue. So realistically now it's like, okay, I guess I just got to knuckle down and get this done. That looks like that's where we're at in the situation.
Got you. Dave, as Eve said in the chat, is Fury trying to move the goalpost here? Is he looking for the back door, or will we see this fight on April 29th?
Oh, I hope we see this fight April 29th, but I think he is moving the goalpost. I think he's trying to get all the financial gain from this fight, because it's a very risky fight, a fight that potentially makes him look not so great. It's challenging, particularly with the type of fighter that Usyk brings to the table, the type of fight he brings, and it could damage his legacy. So he wants to maximize all financial gain possible to take this risk, because there's other enticing fights you guys have pointed out that would make him just as much money potentially with less risk, and continue on this great myth that he's the best of his era. I mean, Usyk could spoil that in one single night. So he's absolutely going to do everything he can to maximize financial gain. And if Usyk gives up and says, you know what, the hell with it, it's too much, I'm giving up too much, then he wins too, because he never has to take on Usyk.
Yeah. Christine, can Fury walk away from this without looking bad if this fight doesn't happen? Whose fault is it going to be if this fight doesn't take place on April 29th? Because a lot of people are blaming Fury, rightfully so, because he's the one that's kind of complaining about the contract, and Usyk's just taking everything. So who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy in this? And is this fight even going to happen this year?
I'm actually a fan of Fury. A lot of people don't like him, but I am a fan. But I'm a bigger fan of Usyk. I believe that Fury doesn't care if he looks like the bad guy. He'll just go back and say, he calls the shots. He's the king, and it is what it is. Usyk's manager said that Fury's the one that wanted the 70-30 split, that all Usyk wanted. Usyk agreed to the 30 split to take 30%, but also wanted $1 million given to the Ukraine. He agreed to it. But a lot of people don't know, Usyk fought 91 kilos in the World Series of Boxing. He fought Joe Joyce, beat him. He's been there before. So for boxing fans are like, oh, he's moving up and this and that. And we're not even sure if he belongs there. Oh, he definitely belongs there. He's been there before. I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't want to say yes or no, because Fury also is known for his tactics of, blindsiding us. And maybe he's training, maybe he's not. I don't know. And maybe he just wants to get it in Usyk's head, which I don't think anybody can get in Usyk's head. He's a freaking beast. He's an animal. But I would definitely say that it was Fury's fault if it doesn't happen. But I don't think he'll care.
Yeah. Manny, we got Garcia-Davis, which was a fight we didn't think we were going to get. And we got excited for this fight, too, because this one was being pumped up, was being talked about. Everything looked like it was a go, but for whatever reason, this fight just seems to be dragging its feet. And it seems to be Fury is the one that's causing a lot of this delay. Does Fury really want this fight, in your opinion?
I mean, he definitely, for his career, I think he needs a fight. When you sit down and analyze and say, okay, so I can go a different route. What route are you going to go? Anthony Joshua? That is a strong fight, too, as well. So he loses to Joshua, like the base kid said, his career will be still okay. He loses to Usyk. Then now people are going to start questioning him. And when I heard about the 70-30 split, I was pretty upset about that, because that shows you that you really need two individuals to make things happen. And we have been waiting for years for several fights to happen, and it just doesn't. And when they started talking about this, it's like, wow, this is never going to happen. Here we are, still going through some pains throughout the contract and all that stuff. But I think that Usyk gave way too much. If you look it up and analyze his career, all right, let's put into perspective the resumes. They're pretty much equal, if you ask me. They both fought Chisora. I'd say, Fury had a much better outcome than Usyk. They both fought twice, two huge guys in the sport of boxing. And look how it turned out. Actually, Fury did 3. So, and there's also contemplations in the future that could possibly maybe a 4th. Who knows? But the reality is, when you measure things equally, I think that Usyk demonstrated here. Although I am the underdog and I am unified and formally undisputed, I'm gonna show people that I don't care much about the money. I care about my career. I care about my legacy. I care about the people of Ukraine in this times around, but also the fans, those fans that have jumped on in the bandwagon for the last few years, believing that he can definitely be the person who he is right now. The problem about Fury, and this is the hype that we get in all the soap opera when a big fight like this start happening. So that's why I'm enjoying the whole fiasco and the whole media from Fury. But Fury is losing not fans, he's losing a lot of attention, because all the attention, it's going into Usyk. And all of a sudden, what do you got? What do you got to do right now? The best thing that I have besides boxing, trash talk, and look at every single detail with a magnifying glass, and I'm going to throw it out there, and I'm going to bully people until I get what I want. And at the end of the day, Usyk's going to say yes. So that's why I believe this fight's going to happen. It's got to happen for the sport. They both love the sport, and I think they care about the well-being of the heavyweights. And we have yet to see the undisputed heavyweight. It's been, I mean, this is what's all about. Boxing years and years ago, 70s, it was all around the heavyweights. Other divisions took over. And now we're starting to see again the heavyweights the way it is. We got to make this happen. And Usyk has no problem saying, okay, whatever you want. And that's how you attract a lot of fans.
D-Style, what's going on with your favorite fighter, Tyson Fury? Do you think he really wants this fight? By the way he's acting right now, complaining about the contract over and over again. Seems to be looking for things wrong with it. What do you think's going on here? Are we going to see this fight April 29th?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that any difficulty that we've been seeing about this fight, getting made or not, it's not from the Usyk side. And anyone who thinks it is delusional because he's agreed to like everything. All right. Like the only thing he hasn't given him is his firstborn. I mean, I don't know what else Fury wants at this point. Okay. I mean, 70-30. I see people, that's more than fair. Like Usyk's not even arguing about that. So why are people debating that? Usyk said, sure. Okay, fine. I take 30, take 70. Are we going to fight? Oh, well, how about we do this? How about we take out the rematch clause? Well, it turns out the one that requested the rematch clause was Fury. That was your clause. And now you're bringing it up like as if it was Usyk that wanted the rematch or something. It makes no sense. But you're hinting that you might fight Wilder a fourth time? But you have an issue with maybe fighting Usyk a second time? This whole thing is ridiculous. Last year you're going to retire, then you unretired. Then you come back and you have a tune-up. And then you say you're ready to fight Usyk, and then all of a sudden you don't want to fight Usyk. And then you do want to fight Usyk. And then you want to put deadlines. And then the whole thing's ridiculous at this point. All this is, he's a man-child. Okay? I'm not saying he's not a great fighter, but he's a man-child. Okay, it reminds me of those kids that didn't have a childhood. Okay, and when they're older, they start acting up, and you know, it is what it is. Fury, his whole career, saw Joshua in the limelight. He saw other heavyweights in the limelight. You know what I mean? He didn't get like all the press and attention when he first beat Klitschko the first time. So he got depressed about it. He talked about it, right, or whatever. And now that he's in this position, he wants to flex and he wants to show off, and like Usyk doesn't even give a fuck. Like it's like, I'm gonna take 70, chump. Okay, cool. Are we gonna fight? No rematch clause. Well, you asked for the rematch. Okay, fine. Are we gonna fight? Well, you have gap in your teeth. Okay. Like I just don't get. Like the only gap I care about is the gap between when you accept the fight and when the fight happens. That's all I care about. Okay. That's it. Plus, people with a gap in their teeth happen to be pretty cool people. Okay. Crawford, Usyk, D-Style. I mean, I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Like, so you can throw all the shots you want, but I'm just saying. But at the end of the day, okay, Tyson Fury, and I talked to you about this, Joe. It's not fear. It's not like, ooh, I'm trembling in my feet. It's about mood. Is he in the mood to fight somebody? Is in the mood to get up and fight? And if he's not, he will drag us through time. He will make us wait. He don't give a fuck. Okay. Tyson Fury is not, and I repeat, he is not a people's champion. Tyson Fury does not do what's best for the people and the boxing fan. He does what's best for Tyson Fury. And some might say, well, that's good. That's smart. Well, whatever. I'm just calling it like it is, okay? Warren comes out and he's like bitching and whining about the criticisms he gets. No, well, Fury's the guy that he goes to other people's backyards and he fights them. You know who goes to people's backyards? Usyk. Every single fucking title fight, he went to their backyard and he took their belt. And he's going to fight your dude in your backyard. So stop fucking complaining. If Usyk's the piece of cake you say he is, then go take care of business, okay? You did everything to accommodate, Chisora, everything. Oh, he's my brother. I'm going to hook him up. He's my boxing brother. And was defending Chisora against people that were criticizing him. And how dare you say that about Chisora? Chisora is more of a man than you ever be. And, but when it comes to Usyk, it's just a different energy, All right. He talks different when it comes to Usyk. All right. Oh, he's not from the West. Oh, nobody wants to see that fight because everybody wanted to see the Shore fight. Right. Everybody's clamoring for that one. Everybody wanted to see him fight Tom Schwartz. Everybody. It was just like everybody is waiting for that one. Right. When it comes to Usyk, he acts different. He talks different. There's just something about this Usyk dude that makes him act a little different. That even you Tyson Fury fans, Christine and Joe, right? Even y'all, right, gotta admit that he acts a little different, and it's gotta make you a little nervous about how he talks about this guy, right? So I think the fight's gonna happen. I'm gonna say yes, only because Usyk's agreed to everything. He can't possibly say no at this point. He can't.
Doesn't matter if we think Fury's going to win the fight. He's got to think he can win the fight. That's what it's all about. And speaking of this fight, because this would be a historic fight, as everyone knows. I think first time in over 20 years or 24 years, over 20 years, that there'd be an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. So this would be a historic fight.
I need to say something, Joe.
Go ahead.
Hey, yo, Maestro, friend of the channel, got to call you out, brother. Okay? Sorry. Facts are facts, okay? No one called the era, the four-belt era, when the IBO was a belt. It's never been a thing. It's never been recognized by the other four sanctioning bodies. The WBO since 2004 has been recognized by the other sanctioning bodies. It's called the four-belt era because the WBO is part of that era. You don't have to like it. I don't like it. I wish we only had one champion, but I will settle for two. But the IBF came along, made it 3. WBO came along, made it 4. That's just the way it is. So the winner of this fight will be the first ever four-belt era undisputed champion in the world. Not the first undisputed champion in the world, but the first in the four-belt era. That is just a bona fide fact. That's it.
Hold on, D-Star, because Maestro says, well, they had 4 belts already when the IBO was there. Just say this is the first of the 5-belt era. However he wants to spin it, it's a first.
Yeah, it's the first 5 era. That's why a lot of people. Be
Whether
simple
it's 4,
to say.
whether it's 5, it's a first. So
I guess Dennis Hogan. So I guess Charlo's not undisputed champion because Dennis Hogan has an IBO, right? I mean, Katie Taylor's not undisputed because there's an IBO champion out there.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it is what it is. I like facts. That's it.
Yeah.
Facts are confusing.
You can cut this one out and try to do a response video to it if you want. It's all good.
And basically, too, people ask, well, what makes a belt or an organization recognize it? Well, it's when the other sanctioning bodies recognize it. So if the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF, when they put their ratings out there and then they list WBO champion alongside their rankings with the other champions and they recognize it, that's when an organization becomes recognized, legitimized, however you want to call it. I don't want to use the word legitimized because I'm not going to say the IBO is illegitimate, but the other sanctioning bodies do not recognize the IBO and they never have. So that's that. So where I was going with this was, this to me is a huge fight. I think globally the Fury-Usyk fight obviously would not be as big as a Joshua fight, but it's a real big fight. And it's for all the marbles. But a lot of people are saying that the biggest fight in boxing right now is a fight that doesn't even have a title on the line. And it's at a catch weight. And it's against 2 guys who some people even think haven't really proven themselves, right? Good fighters, but they really haven't proven themselves. And that's Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. So what I want to ask the panel is, which fight do you think is the bigger fight? Garcia-Davis or Fury-Usyk? Christine, we'll start with you.
I'm really excited about Garcia-Davis. I am. I want to see. I think this is like the test of all tests for both of them. But when I think about that fight and Usyk Fury, I'm like hyped up for Usyk Fury. I don't know what the average Joe thinks, sitting in their living room, but as a boxing fan, Usyk Fury to me is bigger, and that's more exciting and tantalizing to me, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Manny, what is the bigger fight in your opinion?
Well, this generation obviously is going to be Ryan Garcia, and Tank Davis because of the social media hype and their followers and what they're able to do in the last few fights. I mean, if you think about it, Ryan Garcia started elevating himself after he actually beat someone. He actually beat one of the slickest boxer in history, Luke Campbell, and the way he did it. And then on the other hand, people like that 2-second punch action. You can be getting beat up 6, 7, 8 night rounds against Mario Barrio. You can be getting beat up by Leo Santa Cruz. You're getting beat up probably a little bit by Rolly Romero. But what happens at the end of it? And people like to see that action. So, but for us that love boxing, they love the sport, we take in consideration a lot of the things that we were talking about. Undisputed status, whether it's 4 belt, 5 belt, whatever it is. That's important for the sport of boxing, for the growth of the sport. The difference is that people are willing to pay more for a nowadays fight, Tank Davis and Garcia, rather than Fury and Usyk, that has a lot in stake for boxing. So you got different crowds, a lot of different perspectives. We got to respect that. But at the end of the day, we had a conversation about this Tank Davis and Garcia fight that it wasn't going to happen. It's going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. It's going to happen. Oh, he's going to jail. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen in Las Vegas. And we're going to be able to see the biggest showdown from two amazing, great fighters that to this point, I still don't know yet who would I be rooting for. But am I excited for both of them? Yes. But to your point, I think the heavyweights need to have more exposure than anything else.
Yeah.
But you know what the problem is?
Go ahead.
That the belts are not here in the States. They're over there too. So, you know what I mean? So if it would have been here, someone like Deontay Wilder or anything like that, you would have had a little bit more of a push, I would say. But congratulations to you. I mean, they deserve a big event, having Undisputed. That is not in North America.
So D-Style, I posed this question to my co-host Eric on Sunday because he thinks that the Garcia-Davis fight is leaps and bounds bigger than this Fury-Usyk fight would be. But then I said to him, well, I'm not just talking about the United States because boxing exists outside the United States. I'm looking at this as from a global standpoint, right? You got Fury and the UK, how many pay-per-view buys would it generate in the UK? Obviously, the pay-per-views are cheaper, right? So, in your opinion, from just an overall revenue standpoint, what fight do you think would generate more revenue? And what fight also do you think would generate more interest worldwide? Not just in the United States, but globally.
I'm going to quote Fight Doctor. We have, how many worlds are there? We have one world. Right? Look, if you're in Leeds, England, and Warrington is about to fight, and you ask somebody in Leeds, oh, what's bigger, this Warrington fight with Bernal Lopez or Fury versus, maybe not Fury because he's from the UK, but if you just ask them, let's say another fight, like a big, like whatever, they're going to say, oh, the Warrington fight. If you go to Australia and ask them, what's a bigger fight, the Tim Tszyu Harrison fight right here in Sydney? Or this Usyk Fury fight. To them, it's a Tim Tszyu fight. Pay-per-view over there. Okay, they got pyros all over the place. You know what I mean? Sold out venue. You know, the whole nine, right? If you go to Japan, what's bigger, the Inoue fight or the Usyk Fury fight? They're going to say the Inoue fight. Wherever you go, obviously, if you go to somebody's backyard, right? To them, that's going to be it's the perception because they're in that bubble. What's a bigger fight, right? There ain't no way Garcia versus Tank is a bigger fight than Usyk versus Fury. It's not. I could guarantee you there'll be more rights fees by different countries all over the world buying the Usyk Fury fight in all 6 continents, right? Than Garcia-Davis. I could almost guarantee that. Okay, now, I don't think people realize how many countries bought the rights to Klitschko Joshua. That thing was seen by hundreds of millions of people around the world. All right, so like I don't think people grasp like how big the heavyweight championship of the world is in the world scene when you put it all together. Right? Because here in the U.S., if you ask me what's bigger, the NBA Finals or the World Cup, well, to us, the NBA Finals is bigger, but it's not. Not in the world, right? Because 20 million watch the NBA Finals, over 1 billion easy, or more than that, maybe double, watch the World Cup. So to answer your question, and I don't even think it's an opinion, because I could base it off the television rights all around the world and all that. Like in the world, without a doubt, it's Fury versus Usyk. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's bigger, okay? And I also think people underestimate, even in the U.S., because what people forget, even when people were ragging on Vladimir Klitschko and, oh, he's boring, he's killing the heavyweight division, and he was still doing 2 million viewers. Do you know what boxing right now in the U.S. will do to get 2 million viewers? 2 million tuned in to watch him fight Ibrahimov. Over 2 million tuned in to watch Vitaly versus Ariola. This fight last Saturday got 150,000. All right, what does Tank do now? Like 300,000 or something like that. So we're still in a whole different, stratosphere. Like even like when Showtime and HBO split the what AG? I forgot what AG fight it was, but one of them showed the live during the day. The other one showed it prime time. But even I think Showtime had the live. It did better numbers than Tank Davis fights do now. The replay. So I'm not even sure it's bigger in the U.S., but I could say for sure it's bigger in the world without a shadow of a doubt.
They did like 600,000 Joshua and Klitschko on HBO. I remember.
Tank Davis wasn't getting that.
Showtime. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's Showtime, bro. Yeah. Like what I'm saying is, look how much that did.
And that was during the afternoon. That was like at what, like 6 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. And then showed it. I think HBO showed it at 10.
Yeah, like here's the thing. The older boxing fans are quiet fan. They're not on social media that much, but they turn on the television and they watch. A lot of old school boxing fans watch heavyweight boxing, okay? Just because they're not little giddy kids on social media retweeting everything doesn't mean that they're not out there, all right? So they're not as big in social media, but make no mistake. Make no mistake. It's bigger around the world, without a shadow of a doubt.
Dave, a lot of boxing fans tend to live in a bubble, and they think the world revolves around their area. You're in one of the big boxing areas down there, West Coast, right? Are they talking about Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, or are they talking about Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis?
Well, I just wanted to point out for people who might be familiar to my show, The Shoe Shine, I physically moved. D-Style just called me 408. I don't know what to call myself anymore. I'm living in Las Vegas. I've made my dreams come true of moving and relocating and getting out of California.
Good for you, Dave.
No diss to my California.
You can still rep 408. Like
most definitely can still rep it.
Go.
But people are absolutely electrified in talking about the upcoming fight between Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. I mean, where we've got the matinee idol versus one of the biggest boxing stars in the world of hip hop with two of the largest social media fan bases in all of the world. So I think it's great you brought up the distinction, Beeb, that on one hand, that fight domestically is probably going to be the biggest boxing event of the year, one that's going to have celebrities like Madonna, sitting ringside. It's absolutely going to have the biggest gate in Las Vegas this year. I don't think you will find a larger gate. Those tickets are going for unbelievable amounts of money. I just had my mom come down here and say, God, I wish I could go see Ryan Garcia. My mom is in her 60s. What does she want to go see Ryan Garcia for? How does she even know about Ryan Garcia? But that's very important. You brought up that distinction. Globally, internationally, we can make the analogy between World Cup soccer and, the NFL Super Bowl, two tremendous events, one where the World Cup is going to dwarf the numbers of the NFL Super Bowl. Here's another analogy. I started coming to Las Vegas 20 years ago to work as a nightclub DJ, and I used to specialize in dance music, EDM. 20 years ago, my friends that played hip hop at nightclubs said, Pete, do people like that? And I go, well, you might not notice, but globally, have you ever seen the numbers EDM music does at events like here in Las Vegas, these tremendous EDM festivals? Yeah, globally, dance music dwarfs hip hop. It just does. And that's the way I see this Tyson Fury Usyk fight. that fight will dwarf internationally and globally what the Tank versus Garcia fight's going to do domestically. There's nothing on the line for that. Really, there's nothing. They're both contenders, one with a paper belt, one with no belt at all, one with no title. And they're completely different. One's going to appeal to the masses and one will appeal to the global boxing world audience. And it's going to have tremendous ramifications and legacy on the line.
Base, is anyone talking about Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia over in Great Britain right now? Or is this Fury fight getting a ton of buzz?
You know what? Davis and Garcia isn't having as much traction as I thought it would. Yeah, the boxing public is talking about it, but the people on the general street, I haven't had any quote unquote casual fan come up to me you know, when I've been out and said, oh, what do you think about Davis Garcia? It's literally been people who speak about boxing. Every channel on, you know, on our YouTubes and stuff at the moment, every channel I'm seeing, there's something going on about Fury and Usyk. So in terms of which one is the bigger one, I don't think it's comparable, just because look, the heavyweight divisions, the glamour division, they're about to potentially fight for something that hasn't happened for 25 years. You know, a Davis versus Garcia can happen at any time because there's nothing on the line there. It's almost like a novelty fight to a degree. It's at a catch weight, which, you know, one person competes at 140, one's at 135. There's nothing on the line. It's just the best thing about it is it's two undefeated you know, challengers. But with that, you've got Tank, who's obviously, I guess, the more accomplished. He's a two-time champion at 130, and then he holds regular belts at 135 and 140, so nothing major. He can't crack, what is it, like 270,000 pay-per-view buys. I think his highest is like 230 or something. He's never cracked that. Rand's never been on pay-per-view, so we don't know what his social media following translates to in terms of bums on seats or, you know, money generated. Because let's remember, if you look at the price of all of those tickets that was at the AXS, that was at the T-Mobile Arena, if all of his fans are like teenagers or like young girls or whatever, what money have they got to be finding to go to that show? So realistically, half of them ain't gonna have the money to go and watch it live. And in this day and age, you probably know it's going to be Fire Sticks or IPTV all over the place. So yeah, with regards to that, it's not like it's big in terms of, oh, you could say it's two stars, but again, it's like two stars that are in their own insular bubbles. We don't know what the big star power is. On the other side, I'm not saying that Usyk and Fury are massive stars either, but Fury has got a big enough following over here. He's known in the US because of the WWE stuff as well as the Wilder stuff. He's known in the UAE. Usyk's also known in those places because he's fought there. He's fought all over Europe. He's fought in America. All you have to do is just look at the accomplishments of the two and you say, okay, they're fighting for something that's never happened in this modern era. And it actually, in this particular iteration, has never happened at all. I've got to tune in. And the entire world is going to pick a side and is going to be involved in it. Whereas this other one is a bit of a flash in the pan. As soon as it's kind of gets up there, you deal with it, and then it's almost going to drop off. After that fight, they're not really going to hear anything about Garcia and Davis anymore, in my opinion, once the fight's done. After the undisputed, you're going to that's going to be a talking point. Or do you really think, is he really the best? Is he not? Should he have won that? Did he deserve it? Okay, well, who's he going to fight? Is he going to drop a belt now? Is he going to take on his mandatories? There's all of these different narratives you can paint, or the rematches and stuff. I don't think the other one generates as much conversation, in my opinion. But I guess from a maybe a hype standpoint, you might say Davis and Garcia, because it's something, we never thought that Davis would take that challenge. Garcia fought his way off of the zone to make sure the fight happens, kind of. But yeah, in terms of just prestige and what's on the line and what the eyes of the entire world is going to want to be watching, it's always the heavyweights. That's the glamour division. The lightweights and super lightweights are never going to take precedent.
No, it's funny when you made that statement about after the Garcia-Davis fight that probably no one won't be really focused on them, talking about them as much. They may be forgotten about possibly. But Tank Davis was asked in an interview recently, does he believe that the winner of this fight will be the face of boxing? Because that's what the narrative has been, from the promoters of this event. And you know what he said? He goes, I'm the face already. He said Canelo's on the way out. And I thought that was a very, very bold statement, because I don't agree with that at all. That's a very bold statement.
Like, they're not even the face in North America. How are you going to be the face of the world?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Sells more than 200,000 pay-per-view buys. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's crazy. And let's see what Canelo does against Ryder. Let's see how that fight. A lot of people aren't really crazy about that. Let's see. You can argue that still would be a bit, generate more than this fight with Tank.
Yeah, I guarantee you that Tank Davis would kill for whatever pay-per-view numbers Canelo does against John Ryder.
I would agree. Yeah.
Base is right. Like people were making fun of Canelo because he did 650,000 against Bivol or something like that. If Tank did that, these Tank fans want to shut the fuck up about it. Oh, he did 650,000 in this thing where everybody steals pay-per-view. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree. So, Gennady Golovkin vacates his WBA middleweight title, and a couple of months ago he vacated his IBF middleweight title. So it brings the question to me is what's the game plan for Gennady Golovkin? Does he still want to fight anymore? And what big fights are out there for him at this point? Would this be the perfect time to ride off into the sunset? Or, what does he do? Is there anything out there for him? Because if he's going to vacate both titles and just pretty much not really be concerned about being champion again, once you reach that mountain, there's nowhere to go but down. So I don't understand what the plan is for him. Manny, do you think it's about time for Gennady to possibly step away from the sport, or do you think he should hang around? Is there anything out there for him, in your opinion?
Yeah, as an individual that plays sports, and of course I had to retire myself. It's tough. It's a tough one, especially when you think you got it. Especially when you come from one of the biggest fight, with Canelo, and though Canelo shined and did what he had to do to beat him, what's next for him? And so, man, I don't think there's anything. He could have at least maybe unified against Lara. Without a champion, that's not going to work. Charlo, without a champion, if it didn't happen when he was a champion, it's just not going to happen right now. And so you see Golovkin stationary in 160 forever. He's not going to go back down to 154. He's not going to go back up. He's not going to go up at 168. There's just nothing else to look for over there. He can definitely fight big fighters in the 168, but the reality at this stage of his career, what else? You can't go north. You can't go south. Guess what? Go east and west and go to the sunset and just, call it a career for your health. He's made a lot of money. What else he wants to look for? And I think best thing to do in my eyes, and I would hate it because I would still like to see him fighting. I would have loved to see him fight Jermell. But I know for a fact that was not going to happen. So for me right now, it's difficult, but because I really want to see him, but I think he should just call it and enjoy his his wealth.
What about Munguia at this point, Manny? Because they've been throwing that name around there before too.
They have Munguia, but Munguia to deal with Munguia is he's the most protected little golden boy child. We thought it was Ryan Garcia, but it's Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia has a lot of stuff to really prove still, right? And I think Jaime Munguia, it's a 168. That's where he's probably going to go. And I most likely know for a fact they're probably, putting something around for him and possibly future, Berlanga or maybe someone at 168. We don't know how long Canelo is going to stay there, or if he ever going to drop the belts. And I'm curious to hear why they don't force him to drop the belts or they don't make them mandatories, right? So, and now he's going to fight Ryder, and I get it. He just come from an injury, and they want to give Mexico, fill up that stadium, which is not going to generate a lot of revenue when it comes to the ticket office. Down there, it's very difficult to afford. Even go to a game. But the reality right now is I don't know. It's just Munguia. I think he's got bigger, better things in 168 rather than 160. However, that will be a great fight for Munguia, so that way people start seeing Munguia as a potential what do you call that? As a threat, whether stay to 160 or move up to 168.
Base, do you think it's time for Gennady Golovkin to hit the golf course, or would you like to see him fight another big fight before he heads out?
I'm not averse to him fighting another big one. I do think he probably should retire after giving up the belts. Although, if you guys didn't see the other day, the WBC just put him #1 in their rankings.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we had two. Obviously, he had two back-to-back mandatories. It would have had to do both for the IBF and the WBA. Now, if he's #1 in those rankings, Charlo hasn't had a mandatory in God knows how long. Now, obviously, he should realistically be fighting. So what's the guy's name who's got the interim title?
Carlos Adames.
Carlos Adames. He should be fighting Carlos Adames realistically, but I can definitely see Golovkin getting the crack over Carlos Adames, and then Adames maybe having to fight the winner, and that being Golovkin's like last or second to last fight. Because realistically, at this point, at least Charlo will get to feel like the big man. He's gonna get. He won't get the lion's share of the split, but he'll definitely get a 50-50. Whereas before, he would have never got a 50-50 against Golovkin. But Golovkin being a challenger, he might think, well, okay, well, I can finally get that scalp, and put some credibility on my 160 run, which has been trashed to this point. That would, to me, would make the most sense for PBC and himself and whatnot if he sticks around at that weight. So yeah, I think that's maybe the play now. And then I guess after that, win, lose, or draw, probably set off into the sunset. Yeah, but that's kind of what I think is going to happen next.
It's funny that you mentioned Charlo's name too, because Steven Espinosa said in a recent interview that they're looking to bring Charlo back in June, and he said it's going to be a big name. It's supposed to be a big fight. So imagine if it would be that fight. That would be very interesting. Yeah. Shout out to Jose.
It's just weird with no title. You know what I mean? It's
yeah. Well, if
I mean, I knew you got to pay sanction fees, and now
you get
would
have been good. But would have been good to be a unification.
Yeah.
But again, he would have had to fight the mandatories, and he wouldn't have been able to go straight to him. So that's probably the reason why, as Base mentioned. Shout out to Jose El Compita with the 99 super sticker. Thank you,
Compa. Buena.
All right.
I'm impressed with that pronunciation.
Thank you. Oh, Rosetta Stone's been working all good for me. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So, Dave, do you think that Golovkin should call it a day?
There's something that's been happening under the radar to most people, unless you're a huge fan of what Sergio Maravilla Martinez has been doing or what he did in his career, but he surreptitiously has made himself ranked #2 in the WBA 160 middleweight division. 2 years he's come with I think 5 straight wins. He's ranked #2, and Gennady Golovkin was the WBA super champion. Call me selfish, but this is a fight that I always wanted to see. That the moment is still there. He could take a legacy type fight. It's not necessarily a legacy fight. Actually, this is one that's almost like an exhibition fight with the type of fights you see Manny Pacquiao doing right now, right? Like, hey, I'm in my mid-40s. Why not do this fight? Well, why not do this fight? Sergio Martinez is ranked #2. He's one of the greatest middleweight champions of our previous generations. And Gennady Golovkin is of the most recent generation, one of the best middleweight champions. Why not do that fight if you're worried about Erislandy Lara, the Cuban fighter's 37-year-old legs? If you're worried about cutting off the ring and chasing off a 37-year-old Cuban fighter because you're not confident in what your legs can do anymore at 40, then why not fight Sergio Maravilla Martinez, who already did this go-away fight? I remember, everyone remembers Sergio versus Cotto when he had this great ride off into the sunset fight. And guess what? He came back, and he's been fighting quietly and got himself back into the mix. So if he wants to take a fight like that, I'd be all for it. I'd really enjoy that. If he wants to take a fight that really says, okay, I'm going to give it one more go against a potential future a potential future star, which Jaime Munguia already is, I greatly support that one too. I'd love to see that Jaime Munguia fight that should have happened years back and was not allowed to happen by the California State Athletic Commission. That's a great fight for him to end his career on. If he gets destroyed by a young Jaime Munguia, well, there's no loss there. Hey, the guy's, considerably much younger than you. and he could be a passing of the torch type fight. So other than that, Gennady Golovkin really doesn't have too many options at this point, in my opinion. So he either goes with a passing of the torch type fight against Jaime Munguia or a silly fun fight against Sergio Maravilla Martinez, who's 47 years old.
Shout out to D-Style. He says GGG versus Jermell is a great fight. I agree. So, D-Style, do you think that the Jaime Munguia fight is more probable than the Charlo fight, or what do you think? I have a hard time believing that he's just going to walk away without getting one more big one.
Yeah. Look, obviously money could change a lot of things, but what is Jaime Munguia bringing to the table exactly? Like, at least with Jermell, you have a fighter who has been very inactive, and he has a WBC strap, and he could pick up the strap. You know what I mean? And that's a hell of a way to ride off in the sunset, in my opinion, right? And a fighter, by the way, who didn't look so good the last time we saw him. Like, that fought once, like in 3 years. I mean, that's the reality, right? But what I will say is this. I hope it is either Munguia or Jermell. Because if it's anybody else, I have no sympathy for Triple G. None, right? When he was a young gun coming up, not that young, but he was fresh. I mean, he was telling everybody that would listen that Sergio Martinez is ducking him. And Martinez at that time was the old guy. Right? Martinez was the guy that was looking for that. He felt like, hey, I have a right to look for a big payday here, right? And so he went for the Cotto fight because there was more money for that. You know what I mean? And a lot of people still shame Martinez for that, for doing the Cotto fight instead of the Triple G fight. So it's whatever to me, but either fight Munguia, Jermell, I'll even take Janibek or call it a day. I have no sympathy for Gennady Golovkin taking on some nobody that nobody wants to see him watch. Nobody wants to see him fight, quite frankly. And that might sound harsh, you know. I know Christine, he went to the parts of Mexico where they cheered for Triple G and nobody loved Canelo and all that, but she's Mexicans for Triple G all day. I get it, right? But me, personally, Triple G has always been a guy that was looking for the bag. All fighters are, right? But he was always looking for that bag. Canelo gave him the bag 3 times, right? He's made a lot of money. Now it's time to give back. Now it's time for you to be the old guy giving some of these young guns a shot, right? Is he going to actually do it? Because he had a lot of talking to do when he was the one to come up, right? It's funny how things always come full circle in the sport of boxing, right? So we'll see, but I do think it's going to be the Jermell fight. Somebody just tells me that's the route they're going.
He says, I don't want to talk about no gatekeeper. No gatekeeper.
So, Christine, do you think Gennady Golovkin will pass the torch to a younger fighter, or do you think he'll just drop it on the ground and turn around and walk away? What do you think?
You know, it's no secret that I'm a huge Triple G fan. Like, it's no secret. Mexican for Triple G. I'm reading between the lines. I think that he is going to drop the torch because I think there's something more there. I'm thinking that maybe there's an injury, there's a reason, because boxers are the worst at retiring. They cannot stop. I mean, look at Roy Jones Jr., you know, look at Mayweather. They can't just pass the torch. And so I really believe, I mean, and I don't think he has anything else to prove, in my opinion. I mean, he already beat Canelo once, possibly twice. He looked amazing against Murata. His last fight, no, he didn't look so good. And I'm thinking that's where something went awry. There's an injury. There's something that he's not going to publicly speak of. I don't want to see him following the Roy Jones Jr., you know, playbook, and then later on he has a rap song that only people in other countries listen to. He can go out as a superstar. He's done everything he's wanted to do. And he doesn't owe anybody anything. He shouldn't be a gatekeeper. He doesn't owe these younger fighters an opportunity to hurt his body or to possibly, cause some damage that's lifelong. He doesn't owe that to anyone. So I am ready to see him just bow out and spend time with his family, go golfing, and do whatever he wants to do.
You can't come up acting like you're the boogeyman, and everybody was
He
avoiding
was the
you.
boogeyman.
You know what I mean? Sergio didn't want to fight me. Nobody wanted to fight me.
No one
Even though
really
Lara called me out, but I didn't fight Lara. Ward said, okay, I'll fight you. I'm willing to fight Froch at 168, but not Andre Ward. I said I'll fight anybody from 154 to 168, but when it came to Lara, Lara's boring. So I ain't going to fight boring.
He's what, 40, 41? He doesn't owe anybody anything except his family and himself.
If he cares about his legacy, he needs to start delivering. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's time to
go to the Hall of Fame anyways. It doesn't matter.
It's not. Is he?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
is he Hall of
you know
Famer?
what? Legacy, health.
Is Triple G a Hall of Famer?
Let's take a poll right now.
Absolutely.
Would you guys vote Triple G into the Hall of Fame?
Raise emotional vote.
Raise your hand.
Absolutely.
Raise your hand.
It's an emotional vote. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Base no. Base
because that's not how you vote Hall of Fame. You look at a list of names. Is he better than the other three names?
Trust me.
But at the time that he's going to be considered with the other classmate, yes, he's probably going to be top three, I would say.
Maybe. All I know is this. Okay? I have no sympathy for a dude that claimed everybody was ducking him from 154 to 168, right? But when Lara called him out, he didn't fight Lara, right? And then he was willing to fight. He was trying to fight Froch at 168, right? It was Lara 154. 168, I'll fight Froch. And when Ward said, okay, come up, I'll fight you, he wanted none of that smoke. Nothing. When Canelo was at 154 coming up, he really wanted to fight Canelo. Then he got mad because Canelo wanted to first adjust to the weight. And once he adjusted to the weight, he said, okay, let's do this. Let's go, right? And he's been living off that disputed, loss for a while. Or draw, I should say. That's his claim to fame, that I should have gotten the win in that draw. That's the dude's claim to fame.
And he should have.
Absolutely.
Should he have?
He should have gotten the win. Yeah.
That's a popular thing to say, but
That's not. It's not. It's facts. You like facts?
How many people think Golovkin?
Los datos son los datos.
How many people think Golovkin won the first fight? Raise your hand. Base, you didn't think he won the first fight? Would you have it a draw?
First win, second draw.
Second draw.
No, I actually had it a point to Canelo when I watched it.
All right. Well, based off the votes on this panel, Triple G gets in the Hall of Fame 4-2.
There you go.
That's not how you vote Hall of Fame.
Shout out to my boy Sean.
Got to beat out the other names.
Shout out to my boy Sean Higgs. That's his guy. Triple G. He loves it.
Oh, but this Triple G. Triple G never dies. He's like the Cobra Kai of boxing. But at the end of the day, here he is, right? Here he is. Now that everybody wants to fight him. Yes, I'm too old. Yes. Whoa. Let me drop the belts. Let me drop the belts.
Yeah.
And when Martinez was old and had already been a proven champion, okay, everybody wanted to shame Martinez because he went for the payday against Cotto. Right?
Of course. You got to do that fight. You have to do
He was a gatekeeper at that time, at that point in his career.
Maybe Triple G will start doing exhibitions like Floyd.
It's a big drama show. He was trying to say it was a dramatic fight, and everybody, they think it's cute. He said drama show. Good break.
Oh, please.
I think he will. I think he will. I think he unless there's a strong injury like Christine mentioned, I think if he retires right now, I think he's probably going to come back eventually to do some kind of exhibition and still stay healthy.
I'm sending it straight to
All I know is that whenever an easy opponent came up to him, he immediately fought him. Bonus. Okay, I'll fight him. Yes, I'll fight him. Right? But there was difficult fights that he didn't take. That's the truth.
Gotcha. Okay. So Katie Taylor versus Chantelle Cameron is set for May 20th. Now, Katie Taylor was supposed to fight Amanda Serrano on May 20th, but obviously Amanda Serrano had some health issues. She was a little injured. Had a fight too close to that date, I believe, and there was some residual effect from that fight. So now Katie Taylor, it's going to be undisputed versus undisputed. So big question is, will Cameron be a tougher fight than Amanda Serrano? And could Katie Taylor lose this fight and mess up the bag versus Amanda Serrano? Manny, what are your thoughts?
First of all, I'm crushed. I got airline, I got hotel, I got everything set, and I'm not gonna watch. I'm not gonna travel to Ireland now. I'm not gonna travel to Ireland now to watch that fight. I am not going to do that. I do want to give up to Katie Taylor for moving up and try to accomplish something. I think that's important for her in her career and things that she wanted to do. She'd already had it even before she was thinking about fighting Serrano for a second time. Serrano, to be honest, there's nothing going to be tougher for Katie Taylor than Amanda Serrano. Amanda Serrano is just a fighter that doesn't back out, a fighter that likes to stay in the center of the ring and exchange until I am completely exhausted, and I'll come back and I will do it again. And I honestly don't think that Chantelle can do that. Chantelle can definitely, seems to be a little bit stronger. That fight against Jessica McCaskill, that got me by surprise because I thought Jessica would probably beat her. But if you think about it, Serrano and Katie Taylor has got to happen, and that's the biggest fight that we did see in women boxing, in the sport of boxing as well. And I tell you what, if it happens again, that's going to be massive. So I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one because I got a lot of vested, and I got to pull back.
Christine, can Chantelle Cameron blow up Katie Taylor's plans for Amanda Serrano, that big fight in Ireland that was supposed to happen?
Katie Taylor is one of the best female boxers of all time, in my opinion. She really is. This is not a measuring stick that I would use ordinarily, but Jessica McCaskill, Katie Taylor, and Chantelle Cameron, because I'm not a big fan of McCaskill, I don't think that she has any skill at all. But Chantelle obliterated Jessica, and Katie beat her well, but Chantelle totally made her look like she was the Golden Glove champ that just became pro. So I believe Chantelle uses her range very well. I'm a fan of Serrano. I'm questioning if Serrano will ever come back. She took a lot of beating from Katie Taylor the first time. They both did, and I just think that takes lives,
unnecessary
years off your life. Yes, unnecessary. And against Cruz. And I really question if she will come back and we'll ever see that rematch. But I think Chantelle, I'm excited about that fight. She uses her range. She's long. She's tough. She looks like she's really strong. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think Katie is amazing, but I think that the wear and tear on her body and the fights that she's been in, Chantelle could be the new face. And I'm a huge Katie Taylor fan to say that. But she could be the new face, in my opinion.
You're unmuted.
Face, there's been talk of Katie Taylor possibly losing a step. This could be the right time, the right place, right time for Cameron. Mm-hmm. Do you think she upsets the apple cart here? And not that she would be the an underdog here, but do you think she upsets the apple cart in terms of the future plans for Katie Taylor?
To be honest, in terms of upsetting future plans, no. If Katie wants to fight on, she's going to fight on. And as I've said previously, at this particular point, Katie is in a no-lose, win-win situation. Because if she wins, she becomes two-way undisputed, cements her legacy, which is already cemented, just adds an extra cherry on top by beating one of the best female fighters out right now in Chantelle Cameron. And if she loses, it's a built-in excuse. I went up, I chased greatness, I go back down to my division, and I can still see Amanda Serrano or Alicia Baumgardner or anyone else for my belts. So no, there's absolutely no risk for her in this fight outside of obviously, maybe taking a beating. But I don't see that as the case. Now, obviously, I know Christine was talking about the way that Katie handled Jessica McCaskill and then the way Chantelle handled them. Well, their base styles of fighting made it that way. Like Chantelle Cameron was always going to have the correct base style to beat up and dominate someone like Jessica McCaskill just by how she fights. Whereas Katie, who is more of a pure boxer type style, on the outside trying to basically hit and move and constantly being pressured, but just because she's gritty and knows how to dig in, obviously that's how she was able to show her class and prevail in them. Now, I said previously, as an actual, as a replacement fight, it's a very good fight. But for me, it's not a great fight because for it to have been great, Katie should have agreed for Chantelle to go to 135 and then put both sets of titles on the line, all or nothing. To me, that would have been much better. Chantelle she can make 135. She used to fight at 135. She only went to 140 because the opportunities were there and not at 135 because her and Katie weren't going to, sort of clash at that particular time. So she went up there. She can easily get back down to 135. To me, that just would have made it more of a, jeopardy on both sides because even if Chantelle wins at this particular point, he gets the victory over Katie, which is great, but there's asterisks next to it, and you don't gain anything else other than an asterisk victory. Whereas if it's a 135, you can take her belts and actually do something monumental for the sport in Ireland at a time when, there's never been a female line fight over there. So that's what I would have liked to have seen. But in terms of a replacement fight, great. Chantelle's got about as good a chance as anyone, although Katie has got the right base style to actually beat Chantelle comfortably if she just boxes and doesn't get involved in a scrap. But I think with her, being that it's going to be in Ireland, she's going to want to give them a show. She's got the heart of a true warrior. She's going to go in the fire, and it's just about whether she can survive in there and not get, sort of incinerated. She's going to get burned, but as long as she doesn't get incinerated, she should be okay. But yeah, in terms of the fight, great. Like I said, she can still fight Amanda Serrano at the end if Amanda decides to come back. But as Christine said, she's taken a lot of wear and tear. Amanda, she doesn't necessarily fight in the most preservative style. She gets hit way too often for someone, who's supposed to have her skill set and her level. She's not the most fleet of foot. So she might just decide to say, you know what, I've made the 7-figure paydays that I wanted to make. I can call it a day now and, get maybe endorsement deals elsewhere or do something else which doesn't tax my body as much.
Do you think the move up will affect Katie at all? I think she'll be able to handle that 140.
Well, no, but she fought Christina Leonardo to at 140 already.
One time. Yeah. One time.
Right, 140. 140 fine.
Yeah, she did okay. And remember, she doesn't have to even fight at 140. She could fight at 136. Or she could technically still fight at 135 if she wants, as long as she makes
it's
whatever.
8 pounds.
Huh?
I think it's 8 pounds lower that she could weigh in. I think something like that.
Exactly. So she doesn't even have to go up any heavier if she doesn't want to. So I think she'll be fine. And again, she's going to have the speed advantage. She won't have the power and the strength advantage, but she'll have the speed and she'll have the ring IQ and the the boxing knowledge, because obviously Chantelle came from more of a kickboxing background. So as long as, like I said, if she plays it safe, she wins that fight easily just due to base styles. But if she gets involved in a tear up, that's where she makes it a lot harder than it needs to be. But I think she's going to make it a tear up, and it's going to be a great fight either way.
It's going to. And it's actually adding a lot of more hype. One of the biggest buzz in the island right now is, of course, Amanda trying to get, healthy, but giving her a chance. This is 3 months since she last fought. And so if you look at it, she's been fighting about 5 months period span. So it gives her a little bit. That's too much. 2017, she fought like 5 times. She can't do that anymore. Now, here's the interesting thing that's happening with her right now. It's giving her motivation. Katie Taylor to win, get all the champions. Eventually, she'll fight Katie Taylor. But ultimately, what she really wants is fight Alicia. And if you think about it, last 2 fights, who was the co-main event in the last 2 fights of Amanda?
Yeah, that's usually how it is. Yeah.
Can you imagine the legacy having all those belts, catch weight somewhere? And Amanda will do it. For that, I think that's when we see her, that she could potentially retire. But right now, she's got so much motivation that it's sickening.
Calx, before I ask you this question for this topic, I got to ask you this other question. I'm curious to hear your take on this. Would you vote Gennady Golovkin in the Hall of Fame if he retired today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. 5 again.
You don't know that. You got to look at the other reasons.
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
It's not what?
Are you
Because he had a Reggie
serious?
belt.
Who is arguing
He defended a Reggie belt. Oh, okay.
Who is arguing against? Oh my
You know who?
He had a Reggie belt. He ducked Lara. He ducked Ward. He ducked the smoke, and then he waited for little Canelo to move up. Like I'm just saying.
He ducked Ward? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Based off the email,
He tried to make a fight with Frotch, your boy.
Oh my god!
He was willing to make that fight, and when Ward said, "I'll fight you," he didn't fight
When
him.
did Ward say that? Ward said that they sent an email the day after they sold out Madison Square Garden for the Lemieux fight on a pay-per-view.
I love
And
when
when
Calix
Ward was already in the process of moving up to 175. I can't believe these guys.
I knew this would trigger him. That's why I knew this would trigger. That's why I asked him.
You're smart.
I knew it.
Look, all I know is now that it's time for him to show and prove, and all that, like, oh, Martinez stalked me, and like now it's his turn to be the veteran that will fight all comers. He's not showing and proving. He's not.
He's 41. And you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know what he's going to do yet. He might.
What do you think he's
41.
going to do?
Do your thing, 41.
What do you think he's
Defend
going to
your
do, Carlos? 'Cause
belts.
he
Don't
dropped the
drop
belt.
your belts, 41. I'm saying.
I hope he retires. And if
Drop
he
your
retires,
belts for me.
he'll
Retire
retire
for
coming
me.
off of 2 super fights. He unified last year in the super fight in
41.
Japan. He had one of the greatest
Retire for me,
trilogies.
41.
He had one of the greatest trilogies in
41.
modern boxing history.
Yeah.
All right. And
He's going to get a sympathy.
And he
Hall
was
of Fame
true to
vote.
the 160.
It's sympathy. It's a sympathy vote to the Hall of Fame.
oh, come on.
That's why they have a 5-year wait, so the sympathy could kind of die down a little bit.
Calix
my
just
God.
destroy you with his litigation skills. All right, Calix. So Katie
41.
Taylor versus
Go ahead and retire.
Katie Taylor versus
for me.
Chantelle Cameron, May 20th. This is the other fight in place of what was supposed to be Amanda Serrano. What do you think of this fight? Do you like this fight better than the Amanda Serrano fight? Do you think this is a tougher fight? What do you think?
First of all, I don't like the McCaskill hatred going on here. The McCaskill slander. I don't like it at
Sorry.
all.
Guilty.
But I'll say I'm very much a casual women's boxing fan. So you ask me a boxing expert question, I just can't give you that answer. But as a casual, we can learn a lot from casuals, and you can learn a lot from me.
Yeah, but you'll do your research on this because you'll probably bet it.
No. But yeah. I bet everything. So, but as a casual, I'm failing to understand why they didn't do Taylor versus Serrano immediate rematch. Just do the immediate rematch.
I know.
And do it out there. And then now it starts to linger. And then now we got an injury. And then now you run the risk of her losing her next fight. And then it's all blown up.
Calix,
I just don't like it.
Amanda
That was very fast. May 20th was very fast.
It's too quick.
No,
Yeah,
Amanda,
it's too quick.
Amanda didn't want to do the rematch, the immediate. She wanted to go back down to 126 to get all the belts down there to position herself for a better, even better split when they do the rematch. That's why it didn't happen immediately. She called that shot.
Yeah, and my question with that was, is she getting backlash for that? Because like I said, I'm not tapped in like y'all are on this, so I don't know. But to me, you should get backlash for that because obviously it's a much bigger fight than going down and fighting somebody who isn't Katie Taylor. So I don't know, just as a boxing fan, that was one of the most exciting moments of 2022. That night, that fight. I enjoyed it more than Valdez versus Shakur that same night. And I went into that night excited about Valdez versus Shakur. And then I came out wanting an immediate rematch. So for me, just letting it linger and linger and linger, I don't like it. I don't like it. You can things seem to get messed up when you let stuff linger. I don't like it.
I was disappointed that she didn't go for the immediate rematch, but I don't know. She wanted that undisputed title at featherweight. That was something that was on her bucket list, I guess. I don't know. I guess she knows better than us what was best for her. But Dave, what do you think about this Chantelle Cameron, Katie Taylor fight? Will this be as good, if not better, than the Amanda Serrano fight would have been?
I'm not going to front. I've only watched Chantelle Cameron fight excuse me, once. So I'm not too excited or thrilled about it, but I'm sure domestically in Ireland, it's going to be a big fight between her and this UK superstar. I think the bigger fight obviously was going to be the rematch. In fact, you brought up a good point. Shakur versus when Shakur fought that night, I was at that fight versus Valdez, and I couldn't help but whip out my phone on DAZN, and there was more people sitting right behind me, more interested in what Amanda Serrano was doing with Katie Taylor. We were like, oh, snap, what's going on in that fight? Obviously, the Valdez-Shakur Stevenson fight didn't live up to its expectations at all. So I see the desire for the immediate rematch. Who knows if Jake Paul had anything to do with that business decision? What his impact was on Amanda as an advisor, as her manager, as whatever role he plays at MVP. But I have to commend Amanda Serrano because she's already delivered to me, despite Erica Cruz coming up short and being a bloody mess, delivering potentially one of the best women's fights of all of 2023. Already, that was a sensational fight. So I want to give praise and kudos to both world champions in Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor for doing things that the men fighters shy away from, and that's making big jumps in weight and taking on tremendous challenges. Like even let's give her praise, but dropping down drastically back to featherweight, that's a challenge in itself. Who knows if you still got it when you do something drastically, a weight cut like that. And also Katie Taylor moving up in weight and challenging herself against the undisputed champion, also a tremendous challenge. So hopefully we will see this rematch sometime in 2023. I think the desire will be there. And if this upcoming fight for Katie Taylor is as exciting as the Erica Cruz versus Amanda Serrano fight, then there'll be even more desire for that rematch, because I'm telling you, the guys, like at least 10 guys sitting behind me when Amanda Serrano fought Taylor, were like more interested in what was going on between the women fighting than watching Shakur Stevenson. And they paid for that fight to be there in person.
Yeah, I heard that too. Shout out to D-Style Boston, says support Ringside Reporter Live. Thank you so much. So will this fight fill the void that the Serrano fight left behind when Amanda could not fight on May 20th? What do you think, D-Style?
Believe it or not, like, look, I'm gonna be honest. It's not going to be as exciting. Like if you're looking for blood and like back and forth drama, but it's going to be a better boxing match for the purist. Like it's going to be a better boxing match. It is, because Cameron is a thinker in there, and she's going to force Katie to think as well. And when somebody forces Katie to think, she does the same thing. So it's going to be a really good boxing match. There might be some disappointed people expecting some bloodbath or whatever, but I think for the purist, it's a better match, if that makes sense, right?
Yes, it does.
So, like, this is actually a tougher fight to win, in my opinion. I'm actually favoring Cameron in this fight. I'm going to pick her to win. Wow. I think she could pull it off, believe it or not. And I'm a big Katie Taylor fan. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Katie pulls it off, but Katie's moving up. More than likely, that seems to be the possibility. She's going to move up, face her to try to become a second division undisputed champion. And just for the record, if Katie doesn't win, it doesn't take anything away from Katie. You know what I mean? But it's going to be a tough style matchup for her, right? Like I said, it's going to be a thinking fight. It's going to be close no matter who wins, right? It's going to be a better boxing match. But it's not going to be the action fight that we would get if it was Amanda, because Amanda would force Katie into a firefight. But it's just a different type of fight. Another thing for Katie, I got to give her credit, man. I mean, she came out and she said, and I don't blame her for this. Like, look, okay, Amanda got injured, whatever. Like, she immediately, she personally on her social media called out Cameron and said, let's do this, right? And I got to give her a lot of credit for this. A lot of fighters just don't do stuff like this, right?
Yep.
And another fighter I want to give credit to, he's not a boxer. His name is Conor McGregor from MMA. He just did an interview with Ariel Helwani. I mean, he's coming out. He's saying like he wants his fight at the stadium. I forget the name of the stadium, but
Croc Stadium.
Well, there you go. He's saying he wants it there. He's saying he will foot the bill. Like, he's saying let's do it because he wants it for Ireland. He wants it for Ireland combat fighters, and I gotta give him. How could he not give him credit for that? You know what I mean? Like he's
Gotta give
won
him
the
credit
beef
for
it,
that,
but whether that happens or not, I don't know.
Well, they wanted to really be aligned with. I think there's a festival or something that happens every year in Ireland, and so it makes sense for business to do it in Croke Park because you can fit more people and you can bring a lot more revenue to the tourism in Ireland. So, but up till the other day, they still hadn't had an arena. They didn't know whether to do it A3 or they would do it over there. So I was questioning too. It's like, man, we're just a few months away and there's not a venue yet. Is there an injury? There is an injury, but you kind of speculate a little bit. It's like, really, with that, is that going to happen? To the point, luckily, that I never buy insurance for anything that I do, and I bought insurance for this one because I was really
look. The thing for Katie is even if she loses, she could go back down, and the Amanda Serrano fight is still there.
Oh yeah,
it's not going anywhere. I think she knows that, and all she has is nothing but gain here. Like she has nothing. Like all she can do is gain at this point. She can't really lose, right? If Katie pulls this off, I mean, I'm gonna have to tip my hat to her and possibly nobody fall off the chair here, but I might just have to say she's the best ever.
Are you gonna call her the GOAT?
Like I don't like using that term, but it is what it is. But she might be the best woman fighter of all time. Yes, like
better than Clarissa Shields.
Wait, are you talking about Katie?
Yes, because
and why are you rooting for that? You're rooting for.
But here's the thing, though. Like it's nothing against Clarissa, and it's not her fault. But the talent pool just isn't there in her division. Like it's not her fault, but it's just the truth. Like,
yeah, you're right.
Some of her divisions had like 20 women worldwide. Like I mean, it is what it is. Where Katie's in a division that's deep and has more talent. Now she's moving up and fighting Cameron, who's a really good fighter. Like so, it's just a different thing. You know what I mean? Now I'm saying possibly. I got to see it happen first and go from there. But I'm a fan of Katie. I'm going to root for her. How could anybody not like Katie? She's such a likable person. She just is. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing to hate about her.
I thought earlier you said Cameron.
He's picking Cameron. He's picking Cameron, but he wants Katie to win.
Okay,
I'm rooting for Katie.
Rooting for Katie, but he's picking
like Christine. If they put you in the ring with Clarissa, I would cheer for you. You know what I mean? But you ain't got to be Clarissa. You know, it is what it is. You know,
because I'd be making the bag. You know.
All right.
But I'm rooting for Katie. How could you not? She's such a likable. She really is a likable person. Like, it honestly, there's very few fighters I'm very defensive towards, like that I really defend, and Katie's one of them because when I see people talk bad about her on social media, I'm like, how could he talk bad about Katie? Like, she doesn't talk shit. She's not mean-spirited. She's very positive. She fights everybody that they put in front of her. How can you not like Katie?
How can you not like Gennady? How can you not like Gennady?
Exactly.
Come on, it's not the same thing. You're not gonna
come.
Stop. Gennady Golovkin, like, come on, stop.
Beat Canelo.
Broken English doesn't mean he's a nice guy. Okay, I'm just saying.
But he's got a Mexican style.
Yeah.
Mexican style. Yes. Like, stop.
He speaks Spanish.
I'm trying to give like Katie Taylor her flowers, and then people throw in Gennady Golovkin. I don't know what the hell's going on. But shout out to Katie Taylor, though. I hope she pulls it off. That would be the best crow I'll ever fucking eat if she pulls this off. I'm just gonna say that right now.
Okay. Nice.
So you guys think if Katie Taylor loses, it takes nothing away from any luster away from that Serrano match? It doesn't matter. Okay, got you. All right.
Same thing to Canelo. Canelo went up with Bivol. He lost, and he's still Canelo.
Got you. All right. Good point.
Agree.
Good point. Speaking of Canelo is going to be fighting John Ryder in Mexico, May 6th. Some people like the fight, or they don't. I don't think anyone loves the fight, but some people dislike the fight a lot more than others. I think it's an okay fight. I don't think it's a bad fight, but some people are really complaining about this fight. They're disappointed in this fight. D-Style, what are your thoughts on the matchup? Do you think Ryder is going to be a tough test for Canelo? Do you think this could be a decent fight?
This fight is proving a lot of the problems that a lot of American fight fans have. Okay, like I'm getting sick and tired of American fight fans and they're arrogant. It's just not founded nowadays. It just isn't. Okay, we don't have a Hagler out there. We don't have a Sugar Ray Leonard. We don't even have a Floyd Mayweather. Like, just stop. Okay, it's time to stop. Stop thinking that our fighters are better, and like by definition, because you came out of a vagina in the U.S., you're better than fighters in the U.K. Like it's just the truth. Like look, here's Ryder's not a bad fighter. Is he top 5 in the division? He is.
He is.
He's top 5 in the division by merit. I'm just talking merit. It's not a bad fight. Look, is it my number 1 choice? No. Okay. But if you had me make a list of 1 through 10, he would be on that list. Like he's not that bad. Where we have a sport. It's an exercise I tell people to do all the time. Get a piece of paper, get every fighter you want to talk about, and make a list 1 through 10. 1, the fight you want to see them on the most, all the way to 10. Canelo always fights somebody on that top 10. Other than Yildirim, every single fighter, they're in that top 10 list. You write down every single time. Where we have a bunch of other fighters that don't fight guys in the top 10 list all the fucking time. All right, we have people accusing Canelo of holding up the division. Well, riddle me this, riddle me that. Was Canelo in the division a couple years ago? No, he wasn't. Okay, we had dudes. We had Callum Smith, Billy Joe. We had Caleb Plant and Benavidez. They were all champions. Did any of them fight each other? Did they unify? Oh, Batista, it's business. They're in different promotional companies. Well, no. Callum Smith and Billy Joe could have easily fought each other. They were both working with Eddie Hearn. Okay, that's number 1. And then the PBC dudes, okay, Caleb Plant and Benavidez could have fought each other. They didn't. They had all the time in the world, and it was personal too. Like, oh, I'm going to sleep with this girl. Oh, I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to stab him. It's personal. Yeah, let me throw my gang signs up. It's personal. I'm going to put him in a hospital. But they didn't fight each other. All that talk, they didn't fight each other, right? When they were both champions. Canelo, nowhere to be found. Canelo was doing litigation with the Zone for a whole year. And before that, you guys had 2-3 years to fight. Never fought each other. No unifications. An interview with Caleb Plant that I saw, he was talking about unification like it was some obscure thing out somewhere in the future somewhere. Or maybe one day we'll do unification, maybe. Like maybe. You know, like those things are hard to do. Right? Canelo shows up, beats all the fucking champions, every single one of them. Okay, gets all the fucking belts, and then he gets accused of holding up the division. Well, the division was already held up. Right? At least the train station has a moving train this time, and you want to complain because it's arriving late, but the train wasn't even moving before Canelo showed up. It wasn't even moving, but now you want to complain because you might have to wait a few more minutes because the train's showing up a little bit late. Oh, he's gonna let the British dude fight him. What type of stupid shit is this? Okay, what type of arrogance do people have that they want to look down on the UK fighter? Like these dudes are better. Why? Just let me tell you something. Ryder, whether you like it or not, took the opportunity that Andrade didn't take. Andrade pulled himself out of that fight. Okay? He pulled himself out of that fight. Andrade don't even need condoms. He pulls out on time. Whoa. All right? Just like that. Every time. All right? At the end of the day, that's why he hasn't birthed any greatness in his fucking sport. Because he pulls out on time.
Easy.
Every time.
Easy.
And the dude that actually took the challenge and beat the dude is not going to get a shot. I like to reward fuckers that get in the ring and earn their shit. Right? So I commend Ryder for going to hostile territory in Mexico, in his home fucking town of Canelo, to try to take his fucking belts. He ain't going to win. Okay, like I'll tell you that right now. I'm not saying it's the best fight, but it's going to be back in September. He's going to be right back like in 3 months. Not like Spence, who he's going to fight Thurman. Wow, he's going to fight Thurman, guys. Ooh, he beat Mario Barrios, guys. Ooh, he lost to an old Manny Pacquiao, guys. Oh, a guy that horn beat. He lost to that dude. And then he went life and death to Josito Lopez before that. Oh, but he's going to fight Keith Thurman, everybody. And then we'll see Spence again in 16 months. And when I ask, where the fuck is Spence? Well, he was in a car crash, style. The car crash is 3 years ago. That's still your excuse. So all I got to say is this, all right? Okay, fine. He's going to fight Ryder. Guess what? He's going to fight Bivol in fucking September. Give me a fucking break. All right? What's your favorite fighter doing?
All right.
He was in the Creed movie.
Go have a glass of water. Take a blood pressure pill.
Drinking a Dos Equis.
Let's go. All right.
Calix, I know you love this fight. Break it down, brother.
I like the fight. And I like that rant a lot. I like when D-Style gets going. Like, look, who is the only super middleweight in the world who had 2 top 10 super middleweight wins in 2022? His name's John Ryder. 2 top 10 super middleweight wins in 2022. Who is the guy who is, according to Ring Magazine, the number 3 challenger, number 4 in the division? It's John Ryder. It's John Ryder. Canelo Alvarez hasn't fought in his home country. American fighters wouldn't know about this. He hasn't fought in his home country in 12 years.
They don't like him.
He's been doing this decade run.
That's why.
In America, outside of his home country. So he's entitled to go back to his home country and fight in the fight. Like, if you have an issue with this being pay-per-view, that's fair. That's fair. I don't like all the pay-per-views either. That's a fair assessment. But all this extra stuff, it's ridiculous. And it's showing, like D-Style said, the American attitude towards foreign fighters in a lot of instances. I saw it with Bivol last year when he picked Bivol over Charlo and Spence at 164 and Bubu Andrade and Benavidez, and they're calling Bivol a Euro bum. And I'm like, what is this? How much ignorance do you have for what's going on outside of American borders? But another stat here. Canelo's been outpacing his peers since December 2020 on the pound-for-pound list 2-1, and in some cases 3-1 when it comes to guys like Spence and Crawford. He's fighting 3 fights for every 1 fight these guys are doing, and he's doing it in title fights and mandatories. His last 6 opponents combined are 163-1. 163-1, and they're acting like these dudes are bums, and this is a bum run. It's just not. None of that stuff adds up. But like D-Style said, he's being accused of holding up 168. Now he's being accused of holding up 175. Dude, he's entitled to the rematch, and he's not holding it up. They could have done this 2 times over by now, and they could have done it before the Canelo fight. Bivol and Beterbiev could have fought each other 5-6 times over by now. The undisputed fight can happen in June. They keep dancing around it, but Canelo is going to be blamed for everything. At the end of the day, any other fighter out there, name them, around 168, name them. If they beat a top 4 or 5 guy at 168 and then bounce back and beat or even fight the top guy at 175, a division north 4 months later, that's going to be seen as a legacy year for anybody else, but Canelo's going to get disdain for it for some reason. I don't understand. But I wish they would be honest about it. When I was a Mayweather detractor, because I was so high on Mayweather, right? You put Mayweather's resume, you put Cotto at the top, Margarito at the top. It's a great resume, but we expected more, right, than the Robert Guerreros, the Marcos Maidanas. We expected him to fight Sergio Martinez at middleweight, maybe at 155 catchweight or something like that. We expected him to fight Pacquiao earlier. But at least I was honest in saying, I'm a bigger Mayweather fan than his extremist fanboys are pretending to be because I expect so much more of him. He's better than Cotto. He's better than Margarito. He's better than all these guys. That's why we expect more of him. But the Canelo detractors can't come out and admit that the reason they're being so harsh on Canelo and not his peers is because they're so high on Canelo and his talent. That's why they're doing it, but they can't be honest and say that because it would hurt their clicks. And it would hurt their 6-figure paydays, their super chats, their AdSense money coming through YouTube. They can't do it. They can't be honest. They got to stay in their bubble. But this is a good fight. It's a good fight. Not a great fight, like you said. It's a good fight. It's acceptable, especially being that he's going to fight Bivol 4 months later. I mean, come on.
Christine, I know you can be honest. Do you like this fight? Do you like this fight?
No, I'm going to be very honest. First of all, I have a news flash, D-Style.
Get him, Christine.
Canelo nor John Ryder came out of USA vagina. Just saying.
Whoa!
I'm just saying. Newsflash. So, and I get criticized.
I said American
because
vagina.
I don't always go for the USA fighter just because they're from USA. You know, I go for who I think is best. Okay. I'm not excited about John Ryder. He's top 5 in the rankings. We know how the rankings work. Okay. He lost against Billy Joe. He lost against Caleb Smith. I've seen how he does. I am not impressed by him. He puts his chin out there when he steps forward. Canelo is going to knock his ass out. I don't care to pay for this fight. I don't care to see it. There's only one.
Like, Canelo will knock Andrade the fuck out too. Like, I don't even know what that means. Like,
See,
at the end of the day,
I'd rather see the John Ryder than Andrade. Okay, and
okay, that's what I mean. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. There's only one guy that I would like to see Canelo in there, and besides Bivol, the rematch, and that's Big Charlo. It's the only one I'm.
He hasn't fought in 700 days. He's retired.
Yeah, I'm just saying, whether he is or is not, I'm just saying that's the only.
Go
one
to his
that I
ranch
pay
in
for.
Texas or sometime to come out a fight or something. I don't know what is he doing. What is he doing?
I don't know what he's doing.
Is it milking cows over there?
But you're asking me, am I excited? No, I'm not paying for this. I will see the highlights later. No.
The dude's like, no, nobody wants me to fight Canelo while he's milking a cow. 700 days.
All I gotta say is rankings don't mean anything to me because I know how it works behind the scenes. So, just saying.
Well, why is he fighting Ryder? Well, maybe because Ryder's not doing this shit, milking cows in Houston. He's actually
You know
fighting.
what? I give him respect for getting in there with Canelo, but I don't want to see it. I don't care about it. I don't.
Does he deserve a shot? When a fighter gets his shot, does he deserve it?
You know what? Let him feed his family.
Like, should we not reward the guys that actually get in the ring and fight? Like, because the guy he beat to get this fight was the same guy that Andrade pulled out against.
He's not even a factor to me, Andrade, at all. Like, at all. You know, I give him
It's like
no
this in
respect.
Houston, milking cows and shit. Oh, well, why are you going to fight that UK guy? Like, well, come on.
Why not? Why not? But
He's milking the cow, bro. He's sitting down on the stool.
What was in those beers?
What
was in those beers?
He's getting that. Oh, he's enjoying that too much. He's enjoying that too much.
That's not natural. That is not natural.
Those are big cows.
What is this?
I've fought in 700 days, but I deserve my shot. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Dave.
Yeah, I'm not paying for it. I'm not stealing it. I'm not paying for it. I don't care about it. I'll watch the highlights. I'll let y'all talk about it, and then I'll find out what's going on.
You have to watch Canelo because you got to watch his techniques. You could teach the kids in USA boxing and all that good stuff. You got to watch him.
No, bro. No. I've seen his techniques. He puts his chin out there. I know he's southpaw. When he steps forward, his lead hand is low. I see the technique. He's getting knocked out. Just saying.
Is this going to be on pay-per-view for us too?
Yes. Well, here's the thing.
Really?
You could have the
pay-per-view for this?
No, you have the increase in the zone, which is $225 now, which I just paid for it, and now I got to pay that discount, and I get what, $10 discount, whatever.
That's the fair criticism part of this is, you know,
this ain't a pay-per-view fight, man.
But that's what we're saying about everything now. Is they're putting
I complain about it, but I'm going to buy it anyway, so I have no right to complain.
Absolutely,
I'm still going to buy it. Dave, does John Ryder have a right to feed his family like Christine said?
First of all, I'm feeling a lot of comfort not being the only Mexican for Gennady Golovkin on this panel today.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm about excited at watching Canelo fight on Cinco de Mayo versus John Ryder as I was to see him fight Avni Yildirim.
Whoa, Dave. Whoa.
Like, no.
Christine brings up a great point. Yes, he merits the fight because he's done something kind of remarkable in his last couple of fights, but he's basically there to be knocked out. This is Canelo's still arguably the face of boxing internationally, and he deserves to fight in his hometown of Guadalajara. He absolutely deserves that, but as far as where my stance is on Canelo Alvarez this year, now that I'm local in Vegas, I can't tell you how exciting it is to be here on Cinco de Mayo weekend when Canelo's in town. He's an absolute force of nature when it comes to what he generates economically. So the city of Las Vegas is probably wishing he was going to be fighting here this May, hoping he'll fight here in September. He's entitled to it, but like I said, I'm not particularly enthused or willing to pay extra on top of what DAZN is already charging us. I prefer and would have preferred that Canelo worked something out with the PBC bunch for 2023, because I think that those are where the remarkable fights at 168 were there for him to be made. One was, as she pointed out, with Big Charlo, potentially moving up to 168. The young Cuban star, future star, and David Morrell, who keeps looking even more impressive. Yes. I mean, that's a real challenge to Canelo Alvarez.
Yes.
That David Morrell is a beast in the making. And of course, David Benavidez. So I'm still bummed out that Canelo didn't take an opportunity to really sincerely think about maybe a 2 or 3 fight deal with PBC. But he's the face of boxing. He's going to do what he wants to do, and he's going to have the critics, and he can give 2 shits about what my opinion is. But I'll watch it, but not particularly enthused, and John Ryder will probably get knocked out in less than 9 rounds.
For sure.
I would expect the city boys to understand, but he's milking the cow. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Why you say Houston? Why you got to say Houston?
Isn't he from Houston?
Who's from Houston?
Charlotte.
Jamal.
Oh, he is. My bad. You're right. I thought you were talking about me. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I wouldn't say you're milking cows.
He's actually
I'm not milking cows. No.
He's actually from Louisiana, from my
eating cows.
Much like Regis Prograis, he's in Houston.
Hey, guys, believe me, he's gonna fight that English guy, but he ain't gonna fight me. Like, dude, you ain't fought in 700 days, bro.
Oh God. Charlo milking cows in Houston, says D-Star. Thank you so much. I'm not doing the thing with the hands, so that don't even try.
That too much.
That looks a little sketchy. I'm not even going to go into that. But
really,
that's what your mom's doing.
Is this panel selling John Ryder short? Because I had him beating Caleb Smith when they fought.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you say like, oh, well, he lost to, Billy Joe Saunders, he lost to Callum Smith, he did, but those were very close fights. The Callum Smith one, he definitely got robbed in that. The Billy Joe Saunders one, there was definitely a case for him to get a win or a draw in that fight as well. He's run these guys close. He took the fights that other people ducked, and it's almost like the biggest thing people are almost discounting, talking about PBC, this, that. It's a mandatory. If he doesn't fight it, he loses a belt. He didn't go on that undisputed run just to give up titles when it doesn't suit him. Bear in mind, he's also coming back from a hand injury.
Well, that's why he fought Gilgren.
I mean, it's like, what do people really want? They only, like I said, like everyone else said, the one issue you can have is it being pay-per-view. But I'm sorry, if you're not gonna be complaining about Benavidez versus Plant on pay-per-view over there, I don't want to hear shit about Canelo versus Ryder. That's a better fight, in my opinion. Ultimately, to me, that's a better fight. And also if you look at it, for instance, okay, Christine, you say you want to see him against Charlo. I promise you, he breaks off Charlo. Charlo does not have anything for Canelo whatsoever.
I'm not a Charlo fan. I'm not. But I'm
saying, to me, that is a less competitive fight, especially Charlo that is a 160 pounder. What's the first thing they're gonna say? Oh, well, he came up in weight, you brought him up to 168, blah blah blah. He's been out the ring for God knows how long. We don't care about that. Now, look, John Ryder. The reason I'll even give him props, right? Because again, Andrade fight, Zach Parker is a Queensbury guy. Like John Ryder is a matchroom guy. You should know, most people should know there is proper beef in the UK between those stables. Like John Ryder had absolutely no favors in that fight, yet he went on away soil and stopped. He made man quit on his stool to say, like, I'm taking this shot from you to face Canelo. Then he doesn't even get the Canelo fight over here, which is basically what he was kind of promised, that it would be at one of our big stadiums, or you can maybe even go to Vegas with it. No, he's going into the man's hometown to fight him. Yeah, I think he's going to get knocked out as well. But you know what? He's going to go out swinging. He's going out. He's going out 100% with like saying that there's nothing else he could have done. He's not going for the payday. He's not going to lay down. He's going with a legitimate like delusion in his head that he's going to win this. And it's as long as it lasts, it's going to be a fun fight. If I had to pay for it over here, they haven't said yet, but if I have to, I will pay for it because I think he deserves that much from me in terms of, you know, support for him and obviously what he's gone through. He's had it the hard way sort of coming up. As they say, he's top 5 in the division. For someone like Canelo coming off a hand injury, having to do with a mandatory, still taking on the top 5 guy in the rankings, I don't really see why there's so much backlash. But that's Canelo. He's held to a higher standard than everyone else in it. So, you know, whatever.
D-Style Boxing says, pass Jermell the bucket. He has some cows to milk. Oh, that's horrible. Come on, please.
That's good. Keep the money rolling in. That's good. Keep talking about the bucket. That's good.
Please. And Vivo! Do you like this fight?
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Back before Canelo decided to move to 168, I would have had a problem. I actually, I'm guilty, and I'm the one. I'm getting a lot of shit in our show, but that's fine. I'll take the heat. I was the one that said that, he had picked the weakest division because he didn't want to fight Charlo, and he went up to 168, but guess what? Beat a champion, undefeated. Then he goes back again, beats another champion, undefeated, by the way. Some people said that Billy Joe was going to actually, beat Canelo, and I was there, crushed him, and he tastes Caleb's plant and also does the same thing. And something important that someone said here that earlier about GGG and started to bring that up again, but someone said here that Triple G doesn't own anything to anyone, and that's the way I feel about Canelo. Canelo does whatever he wants to do, bottom line, and I am excited to see the cash cow coming back. Every time Canelo makes a move, he's gonna get criticized. He said right there that he's looked into a higher standard. And he actually took one of the things that I wanted to say. He's coming from a fucking injury. He didn't mention that after the Golovkin fight. He had surgery on the hand. What fighter or what sports athlete comes out of some kind of injury, whether it's minor surgery or major surgery, whatever that is, and they're going to go in to fight someone at the extreme elite level? No one's going to do it. I don't want to call this a tune-up because I do agree with you guys that said that Ryder beat Callum Smith, and I believe he did, and he fought well in that fight, and I think he got robbed. Well, not robbed because, close fights are not robberies, but I think the decision was judges gave the wrong decision in that night. And then to come out here, out of that surgery, and now he's about to fight a top 5. A lot of people call him the top 5. I would say top 3. He's ranked. And be able to do that in Mexico, yes, they love him or hate him. That's what happens, and this happens in sport. You lose a lot, everyone loves you. You win a lot, everyone hates you. And that's what happened with Canelo. And so because he manages his career the way he wants to do it, people don't like that. Fans don't like that. And that's why you get all that criticism. That's why you feel like, why does he have to continue to prove himself to people? He's got an agenda, guys. And the agenda is my comeback against the top 5, and then I'm going to have the rematch. Oh, but that's crazy. He doesn't belong in 175. He's going to get knocked out. He's not the same. Canelo does whatever he wants. And the minute he said he wanted the rematch, as puto, as grande, as chingón, que son los mexicanos guerreros, they don't step back. They don't take just the beating for like a no. They're going to come back at it, and they're going to do it strong. Is it going to happen immediately? No. He took a step back. He went down and gave the people what some people wanted, a trilogy, which I didn't really care for that at this time. And he went and pleased the people, the fans. I'm going to give you that trilogy. And now you're giving him a lot of shit just because he's come out here and he's going to make a comeback after that minor surgery against a top 5 fighter.
I do have a problem with that. And I got to say something. If you're a Mexican in Mexico, and I get it, you have El Gran Campeón, which a lot of people have admiration to him, and in Chavez, and then now people don't want to admit and accept the fact that you have a new champion in here. And I get it. It happens. Tito Trinidad is Trinidad. No one wants to hear about freaking Cotto in Puerto Rico. But you got to understand that these guys are giving everything for your country, for your flag, for the honor, for the legacy. And if you're in Mexico and you don't go see this fight, you're going to regret that for the rest of your life. Because you know what? You're probably never going to see a Canelo unless you go out there and go to Vegas to try to see him and pay thousands of dollars, which you probably most people cannot afford. So let's give the guy a break. You know, I know a lot of fans, a lot of people in our channel are laughing at me when they probably look at this, where they hear us what I'll talk about it in our show on Sunday. But that's the reality. And the reality is that we have fighters, we have Canelo, we have the cash cow. And what's about to come in the next few months after this fight happens, it'll probably blow people away. Is he going to lose to Bivol again? Who knows? He probably would lose. Maybe he has a chance to lose. He's got a chance to win. But he's going for legacy. And Canelo doesn't fucking back up.
He's not
payday. You want payday. You want payday. Payday. You want payday. Guess what? Look what's happening right now to Davis Benavidez. He fucked up. He didn't make weight. He lost the title. You want me? You got to go to the people that I've already beat. So if you're thinking out here that you want to come to Canelo like a Jaime Munguia, like an Ivan Edgar Berlanga, talking his mouth again, and yeah, he's Puerto Rican, I love him, but I hate him. Go beat the guys that I beat, and I shall see you up here on the top.
I'm glad you mentioned Munguia just really quick.
I'm not Mexican, but I'm realistic, and I'm objective when I do certain things. And when I fuck up in once in my life, which I did, and I call Canelo cherry-picking division, what do you think I'm going to do? I got to stick my tongue, you know, where the sun don't shine.
Look, let me just say this. Oscar De La Hoya talking about, why they putting him in the ring with this, and they're doing this wrong. Canelo needs to really pick wisely who's going to fight. You're putting Zurdo in the ring with Rosado this weekend. So how about you go stick it, De La Hoya, okay? You fucking hypocrite.
Whoa.
A fight that
I got a point to make, but I have a point to make, and I think this is important. And this doesn't have anything to do. It only has something to do with Canelo by extension. To me, as boxing fans, we reward the behavior we want to see more of, and we go after the behavior we want to see less of. So I'm not going to get on here and say I want to see a guy like Charlo, a guy like Benavidez get a shot. When Charlo, he's been, like D-Style said, he's been milking cows for now 637 days. He hasn't fought in 637 days. I saw a picture of him online earlier. He's in a biker jacket, and he looks like he's about 215 pounds. He's inactive. He's retired. He has no concern with being a champion other than getting the payday. I would rather praise the guy who goes out, even though he's a Euro bum. He goes out, he wins 2 top 10 wins in 2022. That's after possibly being in big fights earlier on in the years and getting robbed. And then he goes into a champion, undisputed champion's backyard, hostile environment, 50,000 fans, and tries to take the belts from him that way. I'd rather see a guy fight 3 back-to-back top 10 opponents than the dude sitting on his butt milking cows for 637 days straight. He hasn't done anything in 637 days. Why in the world would anybody try to defend this dude? And he's still sitting on the belt. Gennady Golovkin at least has the decency to vacate the belts. For the love of God, vacate the belt, dude.
I hear what you're saying. I do.
The damn belt, strip him. He's sitting there milking cows with the WBC belt around his waist. He's still got it around his waist 637 days, Beef. 637. Why in the world would anybody?
With excitement and acceleration, we're not going to go for the person that is just like respectable, doing the right thing. Who entices you? Who excites you? Who gets that fire going? You know,
Christine likes the bad boys. She likes the bad boys.
I mean, you know, we
likes
want to
the
see.
bad
We want to
boys.
see what we want to see. I
Wants to
respect
bail her
you.
man out of jail.
Typical Canelo,
wanna see what I wanna
typical
see.
Triple G for Mexican with Triple G.
Look,
And I
man,
get it. I get your point,
we
Christine.
we
That's a
can't
fight that I
reward. We're in
still
the
have.
participation trophy era, and we can't reward dudes not doing anything.
Yeah.
I get that.
come
I
on.
get
Like,
that. I get
the
that.
eye test is ridiculous at this point. Like, people call him Morrell Jr. the boogeyman. He hasn't done anything yet.
Not
Like,
yet.
he literally has not done anything yet. He looks good, but who's he fighting? Like, come on.
We can say
And
the
these
same
guys
thing
have the
about
opportunity
Boots.
to
We can
fight
say the
other
same thing
PBC
about
fighters
Boots.
in the division. And finally, after 5 years of going at each other, Plant Benavidez are finally going to fight each other. And the pay-per-view is not even going to do 100,000.
And that gets me going. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, but
Okay.
So that's all.
I'll tell you guys right now, though, Canelo's not going to fight Bivol in September.
Whoa.
Okay. All right.
November. He's going to be out again in November. He's going to fight Badu Jack for that cruiserweight title.
Ooh.
Well, Badu looked good. He did look good in his last fight.
That's where he's
Badu-
going.
I think Badu
Saudi's
Jack will beat him.
the money. He's going over to Saudi in November.
That's where the money is.
Cruiserweight's too big, man. I think Badu Jack would beat him.
No, but Badu Jack's not a big cruiserweight. That's the thing.
I know.
Remember, he used to
That's
be a
true.
108.
he's not. But
Yeah.
much better style than Ball though. He can do much better. He can perform better with
What's a tougher
than
fight?
Ball. But
I don't know
he's
about that.
strong.
What's
Jack
a
is
tougher
strong,
fight,
bro.
Bivol or Jack? What's a tougher fight, Bivol or Jack?
I think Bivol. It's just a
Bivol.
style. The style is
Bivol.
it's what it's just very
I would
difficult.
say Bivol
Strong
too.
as
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah,
Bivol
Canelo
the
can go
bad
inside
man.
all night long.
Badu Jack, but the thing is, Badu Jack will try and sit in the pocket and trade as well. He doesn't like to do the boxing and moving. He wants to box.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, and Canelo, that's what he wants. So
Yep, and that's what he didn't get that with Bivol.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Nando Lamos. He says Juan Macias Montiel retired Jermell Charlo.
He's a cow farmer now.
Oh God. All right, that'll do it. Thank you so much to everyone on the panel. Thank you to everyone in the chat, and we will be back next week on D Styles channel. Everyone have a great night. Peace out, everybody.
Vivo!
So much.
yeah.